was going to start with a bomb joke, but security didn't really want to do that. So I'm going to start off with that joke. The most important and influential thing in my life right now was my mom, but I'm going to talk about Ferris Bueller instead. There's my joke. You like it? Ferris Bueller is a film. If you've not seen it, you should. I'm going to tell you why, because it's influenced my life. It's changed my life, a lot of my perspectives. It's changed the way I slow down. I don't know, just look at life. It's a real good thing. It also taught me a little bit about appreciation. Showed me how to appreciate the many different things in the world that go on around us that many of us just kind of, I don't know, get flabbergasted by, or we just kind of ignore. Number one is, I'm just going to say, slow down. People, you speed, you're on the highway, you're in 85, the speed limit's 65, well, come on. Life moves pretty fast, is what Ferris Bueller said. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. I took that to heart. I took that into my being. And I know that sounds like really, really super weird, but because it's just a movie, right? But let's face it, every movie has some facts. To slow down, to me, also told me to get up, get out of bed, and get after life. I know it doesn't necessarily mean that, but let me explain a little bit more. When I was a kid, I was the shy guy. I suffered from SAD, or SAD. If you don't know what that means, it's social anxiety disorder. It means I hated all of you. And being up here in front of any of you, or one of you, or two of you, was like a nightmare on steroids. I was the kid that was like behind mom's leg and was just like in the shadows, and just, if you even looked at my direction, I was like a turtle just popping right back into a shell. It was just an awful experience being a kid and exploring the world. When I turned about 5 years old, that was when I first saw this movie. Because when I first started to get a perspective, is, you know what? It really ain't that bad. You people looking at me right now, it isn't that bad. The worst thing you can do is just not look at me, right? The second thing is my life perspective I want to put out there, because first one was slowing down, but the second thing is life perspective. It's really hard to be seen, but it's really, really easy not to be. You ever notice that? You go around life, you're walking around, it's really easy to just kind of fade into the back of the crowd and just kind of like play like you're not talking to anyone, no one's going to say anything to you. That first day of school, you kind of sit in the back of class and just like, I just don't want to talk to anybody. This is a new school, it's a new day, I don't want to talk to anyone. Become the unpopular kid right off the bat in the first day or something. But it's really hard, I think, to get out there and not only be seen, but to be lively, to be a friend, to be a confidant to someone, to be something to everyone around you. I think that is hard. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said I'm sorry, but I said that. So. Number 3. It's okay to sing out loud and appreciate it. It's okay to look at art on the wall and stand there and say, that is horrifically weird, but I like it. It's okay to appreciate the things around us. Music and art, I didn't really notice when I was a kid. But after watching Ferris Bueller, I got to see this incredible scene where they toured the Chicago Institute of Art, the Chicago Institute, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. It's someplace in Chicago. I'm from New York. I really don't care. So, I went there. So, but in this scene, it's a very musical scene. It's very 80s. It's got the nice little chimey music going the whole time. No words, really. But it's a very artistic scene, and they're trying to portray this really cool element of all the art that's in the museum and how it's affecting the characters. One of the characters, Cameron, is a really cool guy. He's the tall, quirky, weird guy that's emo in the 80s, but he didn't dress emo because it wasn't cool to dress emo back in the 80s. So he dressed like in a big jersey and all that. It was a Chicago-style normal, but he was really tall and skinny and emo. That's straight up. And there's this one scene, I spent hours looking for it, but I couldn't figure out the name of this piece of art. But it's the art that's made off of little dots, and it's the lady with the umbrella. Everybody remember that?
Yeah.
You should know what I'm talking about. It's very famous. I don't know why I couldn't find the name of this thing, but maybe I just suck at Google nowadays. But the art is a really cool piece, and they have this one scene where Cameron is standing in front of this piece of art on display in Chicago, and he's staring at the little girl who is holding the hand of her mother in this art. I think it's the mother standing next to the lady with the umbrella. You don't even know. But this little girl is just seemingly staring at the out of the painting to the viewer. she's making eye contact with you. Now, what John Hughes does to portray a really good connection with Cameron is he actually does this constant flashback and forth with the character, or the little girl, and with Cameron. And you constantly are getting closer and closer to each eye, the eye of the child, the eyes of the child, and the eyes of Cameron. And it gets closer and closer and closer with this really epic 80s music. And as we get down to it, it just is really awesome to look at. You kind of get sucked in. You don't really know what it means. And I didn't know what it means. It's just like a really cool, random thing in a very funny teen movie in the 80s. It's like, why the heck is that so artistic? I went and looked this up, and John Hughes actually made an explanation. He said what he was trying to convey is he was trying to show that Cameron is a very... Walking out of camera frame. Maybe I should stay here.
Camera can follow you just fine.
The camera automatically follows me. What he's trying to show is that Cameron is a very shallow person, very emotional person, and he gets this fear of people looking at him, like how you're looking at me right now. But the thing that he showed is that as you got closer, as Cameron stared closer into this little girl's eyes, made of many little dots, he showed that as you get closer, all you start seeing is little dots. You don't see the little girl anymore. And closer and closer and closer, all of a sudden you're looking at nothing. There's nothing there. And he tried to show that Cameron felt that way. That when the world was looking at him, when his parents were looking at him or were not looking at him, he just felt invisible to everyone around him. And that was kind of that character's problem. That is a really deep meaning in a very awesome movie, let me tell you that. So if you didn't think there was anything out of this movie you couldn't get, maybe more so than just the famous line of life moves pretty fast, I think there is some things you can get out of this movie. I've learned a lot in life from many, many people, but nothing is compared to the enormous influence Ferris Bueller's Day Off has had on me. In conclusion, it rocked. The movie rocked my world and taught me how to slow down, showed me a proper, better life perspective that I think has served me well, and it may be serving you well right now as I'm up before you right now, giving this incredible speech of awesomeness, right? But that's why I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's why I'm a better person for it. Now, like I said, you may not have gotten the most out of this movie. You may have just gotten, if you have seen, you may have just gotten the quote of life moves pretty fast. But I like to just say that. Life moves pretty fast, people. If you don't slow down, you will miss it. So give it a shot today. Maybe slow down a bit. Notice how I'm smiling. Thank you.